people started to figure out who really is. As you said, a propagandist, a paid asset used by foreign intelligence. He's an agent sponsored by Israel, who, in my view, is the #1 enemy of the United States. He is nervous because his Mossad bosses can see that the Daily Wire is not what it used to be in the early 2000s. People now have internet. They can go back and see how much Ben Shapiro have deceived them over the years.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Charles on Point. I'm Charles, and today we're looking at a heated conversation between Piers Morgan and Bassem Youssef about Ben Shapiro, free speech, Israel, and the growing divide within political commentary. Bassem has some very strong accusations about Shapiro, while Piers focuses on what he sees as Shapiro's unwillingness to engage with critics through debate. There are definitely some serious claims being made here, and I'll give you my thoughts toward the end. For now, watch the full exchange and listen carefully to both sides. Let's get into it.
Well, now, as most of you are aware, Ben Shapiro's tirade about Dave Smith, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and me included a clip featuring one of our returning guests, Bassem Youssef, the comedian and commentator. He was among those labelled either a Nazi or Nazi adjacent. It's only fair that he now has a chance to respond, and Bassem rejoins me now. Bassem, welcome back.
Ramadan Kareem, ya Piers, and Eid Mubarak. You know, it's been a while. This is the holy month of Ramadan. You know, we also have holy days too. Others have Purim and use it to slaughter people. So happy Ramadan and Eid Mubarak for you, Piers, and I wish you happiness, prosperity, and by the grace of Allah, may He always help remove the blindfolds of your kind heart, Piers. Wallahi, I miss you. And because last time I actually met you, I think Alan Dershowitz threatened me on your show to sue me. I have since posted a 13 minutes apology, but I didn't hear back from him. And I have to say, man, like, what's the thing with the beef between you and Ben Shapiro? I'm actually like, I'm surprised. I'm actually not surprised. I wanted to tell you.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, Bassem. You know, I'll be straight with you. You and I have had a lot of robust conversations. I still get people all around the world, New York, LA, Sydney, Australia, the Middle East when I'm there, London, Manchester, whatever. And they still talk about the very first interview that we did, which blew up and was watched by 23 million people watched that interview. And we've had a lot of interviews since. Some have been good-tempered, some have been quite fractious. I don't mind it either way. I think you're a passionate guy. You say what's on your mind. You don't hold back. I like that. We're an uncensored show. The thing about Shapiro, is to, I mean, I'll obviously let you get into what you want to say about him, but my disappointment with him was he portrays himself as the king of free speech. Everyone, you know, facts don't care about your feelings is literally his pinned tweet on his X account. And yet, from the moment I became more critical of the Israeli government, he immediately basically cut me off. Refused to acknowledge any texts of mine, refused to come on the show, didn't invite me back on his. It was all over. As far as he was concerned, you're either all in, uncritically with the Israeli government, it seemed to me, or you're all out. There's no middle ground. And he's not the only one. There's some others that have done the same thing. But I was just really disappointed in him as a free speech king, that he was not able to tolerate legitimate criticism of the Israeli government. And I've never been as critical of Israel as you have, and I accept that. And you would have liked me to have gone further, and we've had that debate. But to not be able to criticize the government at all, and by the way, you have lovely cats.
This is fish and chips. This is fish, and this is and this is chips. Very British of me.
I have two Burmese called Dennis and Bobby, named after Arsenal invincible legends. So
of course the Arsenal. Of course it has to be the Arsenal.
Of course.
Good season, by the way.
Thank you. But look, talking seriously about Shapiro for a moment, because I just think this weaponizing of the word anti-Semitism does him, it does everyone on that side a very grave disservice, because it's being used as a form of censorship.
You're completely right, Piers. And actually, I have news for you. The first time ever that I actually got introduced to Ben Shapiro, the first time I ever heard of him, was on your show in 2013, Piers Morgan Tonight on CNN.
Really?
Were you guys? Yes, that was the first time I ever heard of him. And you guys were debating the gun control, and he called you a bully.
Yeah.
And the thing is, over the years, you gave him space, you platformed his views. You gave him time, And all of that was not enough for him. And I wasn't actually mad when he called me a Nazi in his montage, because if you look at the list of people that he called Nazi, one of them was Professor Norman Finkelstein, who was a Jewish Holocaust survivor. Even that is anti-Semitic for Ben. And the thing is, like, his tantrums is just like Ben Shapiro's tantrum is a reflection of the narcissistic sickness that Israel is. You know, they demand nothing less but absolute obedience, absolute alignment. And they will never have a honest conversation. They will hide behind their screen, calling you anti-Semite. But nobody like buys that anymore, you know? And by the way, like even my local gym, I get people who come and recognize me from your show, another show, and they're like young people, 24, 25, and they say, you know, like all our lives we grew up listening to Ben Shapiro, believing him, but now we cannot believe him anymore. It is very difficult for them to take whatever he's saying.
Well, he ranted about Megyn Kelly and I. He called her a coward. He called me a clickbait whore or something, a click whore or something. And what was interesting was there was a barrage of responses. And then somebody asked Grok, the AI on X, you know, what percentage of the responses are negative against Ben Shapiro? It was like 95% of the responses to his own post on his own account were having a go at him, saying, "Why? This is ridiculous." And even then, he doesn't seem to get it.
So I understand what he's going through, because right now we've all seen the past 2 years he's losing views, he's losing subscribers. People started to figure out who he really is. As you said, a propagandist, a paid asset used by foreign intelligence. He's an agent sponsored by Israel, who, in my view, is the #1 enemy of the United States. He is nervous because his Mossad bosses can see that the Daily Wire is not what it used to be in the early 2000s. People now have internet; they can go back and see how much Ben Shapiro have deceived them over the years. You know, and the thing is, that's why I'm announcing right now on your platform another invitation for Ben Shapiro to debate me, but he will not do it because he is actually busy debating younger college kids who, by the way, still kick his butt. I am starting on tour right now this week, but I will put aside 2 weeks in May if he would ever love to come on.
And I would love that. And by the way, I would love to watch that in the same way that when he was trying to belittle and attack Dave Smith, who's a regular on my show, and I don't agree with everything Dave says, but I like Dave. He's a very good debater. And I'm like, yeah, Ben, rather than abuse the guy, why don't you, in your eyes, show him up with the power of your argument in a debate? Same with you. He should come on your show and he should, or get you on his, and you two should go at it for a couple of hours and let the public decide who has the better argument. But he won't do that. He takes the easy option time and again.
You have to understand, I should look again. I kind of feel for Ben because I can see how he's losing his edge and how people are like walking away from him. I mean, the only way for him to stay in the conversation is to put these fake bushy eyebrows so people will talk about him. He's basically prostituting some prosthetic, and he just turned into a low-life, no-talent clickbait. So like a sorry-ass human bot with a voice resembling a depressed frog. Like, you know, so it's just like he's not in the conversation anymore. And he is just there for rage baiting. As you said, 90% of the comments right on his in the feed is just like, dude, we know who you are. You know you're lying. It is, and it's.
But also, I don't think he reflects, Bassem, what a lot of Jews and Israelis feel. Because when I meet them a lot, they come up to me and want to talk about it in the streets of London or New York or wherever it may be. You know, obviously, there's 1 million Jewish people live in New York. So I have a lot of conversations on the street with them. They share a lot of my misgivings about the Israeli government and what happened in Gaza and what's happening in Iran and so on. It doesn't mean to say that they're anti their government or anti their country or any of those things. It just means they share my misgivings about what their government's done in their name.
You're completely right, Piers. But, you know, we have to be very careful when we use the word Jews, because what kind of Jews are you talking about? Are they the Orthodox Jews in New York who, vast the majority of them, think that Israel is a modern abomination? It's a secular, atheist country that should not exist? Or are you talking about the secular Jews who like people like Jewish Voices for Peace, or many of the Jewish artists and comedians and musicians who are 100% against it? That's why I avoid using the word Jews. When I say Israel, and I say Israel as it is, how it stands in the international community, how it behaves itself. So I was very careful using this. So he is reflective of that attitude, just like a fantasy that is made out of propaganda, and people are now figuring out what Israel is all about. They're now the same way they're figuring what Ben is all about.
But, you know, it's interesting, like at the start of the war, as you know, because you criticized me very heavily for this, I was quite a vocal defender of Israel's right to defend itself after Hamas perpetrated the horrors of October the 7th. And I would regularly ask pro-Palestinian guests that came on the same question: do you condemn what Hamas did? And I got a lot of blowback for that in the Arab world, right? They said that
Now, guys, this is where I think the conversation gets really interesting. Piers and Bassem are making a broader argument about free speech and political debate. If you strongly disagree with someone, why not challenge their arguments directly instead of relying on insults and labels? But I think we also have to separate legitimate criticism from serious accusations. Claims that someone is a paid foreign intelligence asset are extremely serious and shouldn't simply be treated as established facts without evidence. You can strongly criticize Ben Shapiro's positions on Israel, Gaza, or American foreign policy without making allegations that you cannot prove. At the same time, Piers raises a fair question. If you believe someone is completely wrong, why not debate them? Put the arguments on the table, challenge the evidence, and let the audience decide. That's what makes political debate valuable in the first place. And ultimately, I think that's the bigger takeaway here. Political commentary becomes less meaningful when every disagreement turns into name-calling or accusations of bad faith. You don't have to agree with your opponent to engage with their argument honestly. So guys, what do you think? Should Ben Shapiro actually debate Bassem Youssef and some of his other critics directly? Or has the criticism of Shapiro gone too far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button, and subscribe to Charles on Point for more political commentary.